everywhere that the Russian forces have withdrawn, very soon some kind of evidence of atrocities is found. Communal graves, the corpses show signs of having been tortured, or their hands are bound behind their back.
Let's look at the war in Ukraine now. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has said he expects the situation to, in his words, stabilize in Ukrainian regions annexed by the Kremlin after Moscow suffered military setbacks and lost several key towns to Kyiv. Here to tell us more is Askold Krushelnycky, the Times Ukrainian correspondent. Askold, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Good evening.
Every day brings a new story from Ukraine, and every day tells us tales, doesn't it, of new villages, new towns that have tasted some form of freedom that they've not had for 7.5 months. What's happened in the conflict in the last 24 hours?
As you say, there are villages and settlements, particularly in southern Ukraine, in Kherson region, that are being liberated or retaken by the Ukrainian forces every day. That's usually brings happiness and scenes of joy in those regions, but they're also accompanied by scenes of sadness, because everywhere that the Russian forces have withdrawn, very soon some kind of evidence of atrocities is found. Communal graves, and the corpses show signs of having been tortured, or their hands are bound behind their back. It's a mixed variety of emotions every day here.
Is there any way to actually put a number on the size of the area in terms of miles or kilometers of ground that's been recaptured by the Ukrainians?
In Kherson, I think it's safe to say hundreds of square miles. A few weeks ago, when the big Ukrainian surprise attacks began north of in the northeast of the country, in the Kharkiv region, I think thousands of square miles. I know that kilometers, I think it's 3,000 square kilometers, so transpose that into square miles. But I think people were saying it's several times the size of Devon. Considerable areas have been taken back, and hundreds of thousands of people who've been under Russian occupation for months, some almost from the beginning of the war, which started February the 24th, are tasting freedom, and there are scenes of happiness as they greet soldiers, taken by soldiers on their smartphones or by people. So, but as I say, usually at the same time, evidence of murders and executions uncovered.
President Putin is 70 years old tomorrow, and in his words, he said that the situation is stabilizing. What do we know about the movements of Russian troops over the last few weeks?
They apparently were deployed to the south of Ukraine. I was speaking actually to a senior Ukrainian army officer, and he told me that there are about 126 battalions, and a battalion at full strength is about 800 to 1,000 men in the Russian army. But he said that lots of them have got around half strength. But they have been deployed to southern Ukraine, to Kherson and to Zaporizhia, which is where the biggest atomic power station in Europe is located, and the Russians have got that and been kind of using it for nuclear blackmail. But the soldiers, Russian soldiers, seem to be concentrated in the southeast and south of the country now, of Ukraine now, and they seem to be trying to hold the Ukrainian advance in those areas, the south, the east, or the southeast and the south.
Askold, thanks so much for your time tonight. That's Askold Krushelnycky, the Times Ukrainian correspondent, on the latest in Ukraine and Ukraine's advance in recapturing those areas. Coming up next, we're going to